recently saw The Tinder Swindler, and it reminded me of my own Tinder Swindler story from back 11 years ago, and how all my girlfriends have very similar stories of all kinds of lies. So I asked you guys to send in your relationship red flags so I can share them here, and I have 5 to share today. I'm Juli Bauer Roth, the food, fitness, and lifestyle blogger behind PaleoMG. Welcome to my channel. I'm here to share my favorite food, fitness, and wellness tips to help you live your best damn life. Today, we're going to be talking about relationship red flags, and we all have them. We've either felt insecure in a relationship, we felt like something was going on, we found out they were cheating, lies, all kinds of different things. And when I recently watched the Tinder Swindler story on Instagram, I shared my own story where I got swindled. Thankfully, not out of financial stability, but I got completely lied to and blindsided. And when I shared this, I found out so many people have their own stories. Not only my own girlfriends, but people all over Instagram were sharing their own stories with me. So I asked people to write in and tell me their relationship red flag stories, and I wanted to share them here. And guess what? I got a ton of emails. And so I am going to do this in a series. I'm going to share relationship red flags, and this is going to be part 1 with about 5 stories from you guys. If you ever want to share your own stories, whether that's your own Tinder Swindler story or another one I'm going to be filming soon is your worst breakup ever story, well, you can send that into secrets@paleomg.com. I want to hear from you so I can share them here. My favorite part about any of these social communities is that you get to talk to other people who have been through things like you, and you get to learn from them. I have learned from so many different people online, and people who are watching this video can learn from your story as well. So send in your stories, whether it's a Tinder Swindler or a breakup stories, and we'll have even more topics in the future. Now let's first get in my own kind of Tinder Swindler story. So before I met my husband, Brian, I was dating this guy that I met at a gym. I had just gotten out of a long-term relationship, and I met this guy, and he was so sweet and comforting, and it was really what I felt like I needed in that moment to just fall into fate, fall into the perfect person. After a relationship had ended, the perfect guy came along, and I was going to marry him. Oh, that's what he was telling me. So we started dating, and he was so good at love bombing. He was just love bombing all over the place, telling me that I was the perfect girl, that I was the woman he was always looking for when it came to someone he wanted to marry, that he could see us like his parents who had been married for years. He even took me to his parents' house one day. His parents weren't there, but to show me how much love they have for each other. So he showed me in their bathroom. He said, my mom loves to take baths here, and my dad sits in this chair and just talks to her because he just loves spending so much time with her. And I can see myself doing that with you. I was like, oh my God, thank you. You know, feeling so good about myself. And then after a while, I noticed that he made me feel really insecure. He would talk about my cellulite or point out things that weren't necessarily good looking about myself. And, you know, I'd always write it off. It's like, oh, he's just so honest. And he was just joking. But I started getting really insecure. But at the same time, he took me to all of his parties. He took me to his work where I met his coworkers. He took me to different events with his friends. I met his best friend. I met all these different people in his life. And we were hanging out, we were together. And then one night I was at his house and there was this banging on the door, bang, 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 bang. And he immediately said, quiet, be quiet, don't say anything. It's my brother, he's drunk, he's gonna wanna come party with all his friends. And he said his brother lived in the building. I was like, okay, yeah, I won't say anything. You know, you just don't think anything of it. Well, after a while, I felt myself getting more and more insecure. I was feeling insecure about my body. I was feeling insecure about this relationship because he would create plans with me and then kind of leave me hanging and then cancel last minute. So something felt a little off, so I ended up ending things with him. Then a few months later, I got a friend request on Facebook. This was back in the day when I actually used Facebook. And it was a photo of this girl with him. And I responded back to the girl and said, hey, I'm sorry, but I'm not looking to be friends with blank, his new girlfriend. And she was like, what do you mean his new girlfriend? I've been with him for 9 months. I was like, well, I was just dating him for the last 3 months and we were sleeping together. So She's like, can I call you? I said, hell yeah, you can call me. So she called me. I explained everything. I found out she was the one who was banging on the door. I even at one point saw her in the parking garage of the building I was working in after I talked to him. And she gave me this really dirty look. And I was like, who is this girl? Well, come to find out it was her. He had told me that it was his crazy ex-girlfriend. No, that was his actual girlfriend. And so she asked me, she's like, do you have any proof of this? So I gave her all our emails, all our G-chats, because I was doing G-chat back then. I had erased our text messages together because I was trying to get him out of my life. And then I said, you can check this out. That's up to you. Well, at that point, she had confronted him and he was calling me, screaming at me, telling me I was a liar. I was like, you met all my friends. I met yours. I have photos together at the gym. Like, what are you talking about? Then at one point, he was making fake G-chats, talking to him, and it said it was my name. I have no idea how he did this. And it was saying like, I'm going to ruin your life. You're never going to have a girlfriend again. Like these crazy things. And so his girlfriend at the time was like, who am I supposed to believe? I'm like, I don't know. You believe whoever you want to believe. I don't have a dog in this fight. It doesn't involve me. I'm not going to win anything or lose anything. I don't care what happens with your relationship. You got to figure it out on your own. Leave me alone. Never heard from them again. And then I think they stayed together for a while. Luckily, she broke up with him. And I saw him at a CrossFit event months later. And he looked at me and he's like, hey, Julie. I was like, F you. Get out of here. And I've only recently, about 11 years later, saw him walking in the same neighborhood as I do. So I think he lives in the same neighborhood. But it was one of those times where I felt so incredibly blindsided that I couldn't trust myself anymore because I had trusted this person so deeply and believed all the words they said. And I'm a person who tells the truth and tells it how it is. Then I was blindsided by this person who really made me believe them. So it made me question everything. And almost every woman I know has a story like this. On another episode, I'm going to share some of my friends' stories, personal stories from our college days, because they have some crazy stories too. But I want to get into your own stories. So many of us have been love bombed, we've been cheated on, we've been lied to in different ways, and I know we can learn from each other. So I want to share your stories, and I have 5 stories today from 5 different women on Instagram who emailed me. Again, if you want to email me any of your stories, send them to secrets@paleomg.com. Now, I'm not going to say anybody's names just because I don't know if they want their names read or not. So first on my list, this amazing person. She said, I dated a man for 8 months and I was head over heels for him. We were planning on moving to California together. I knew his mom and all of his friends and thought he was the one. He lost his job and flipped. He broke up with me and then started harassing me via text message, sending me more than 50 texts per hour for days on end. He called my mom and told her I was a monster and spread lies about me to my friends. I was worried for my safety and my dogs since he completely unhinged in such a short period of time. That is a red flag. I begged him to stop harassing me and he didn't. So I filed a restraining order against him in court. During the process, I was assigned a domestic violence advocate to help me through the court system. I learned through her that I was filing the 7th restraining order against him in our state of residence alone, and he had only lived there for 4 years. I have no idea how many additional restraining orders he has in other states. The judge granted the maximum 3-year, 1,000-foot restraining order available. I packed up and moved across the country. It took me a few years to make eye contact with men again, and I stopped drinking to ensure my judgment was never blurred again. 7 years later, I am still single. That relationship hit me harder than anything else in my life. Thanks for the prompt. It's always nice to share the dark. Shit! Red flag. Oh my gosh, that's so freaking scary. Well, girl, I'm glad you got away. Got away to the other side of the country. Next up, Long story short, I met James online and we hit it off immediately. We were both living in Texas. He was in Houston. I was living near Austin. He was just amazing. Treated me like a queen, took excellent care of my son. I was a single mom of a 2-year-old. And on my 30th birthday, my mom received a call from the Houston Police Department that James had been arrested for an outstanding warrant and had several of my mom's credit cards on him. And yes, he was using them. He took them when he went to my mom's house to visit from her bedroom. I was going to marry this piece of shit. I even let him take my son to daycare. Never again. I didn't date anyone for years because I was terrified of trusting anyone with my son. Best part, his mom reaches out to me. James wants to send me a letter to explain. He did, and it was just more stupid lies. He messed me up for a long time. Ugh. Red flag, okay? Stealing credit cards. Stealing mom's credit cards. Not even the other person. Okay, get this one. So this person sent me 3 stories. So I just took one of them, but she had 3 stories. This one is about Charlie, the I have a dead family from Tinder. I matched with a guy on Tinder named Charlie. We connected on our love of the water, claimed he had a boat, love of nature, claimed he was an arborist, goals for future growth, claimed he owned his own home and income property, etc. He seemed cool. Conversation flowed nicely. The day before we were supposed to meet, he became really aggressive and pushy in conversation. He FaceTimed me 3 times in a row, despite me rejecting the FaceTime and telling him I couldn't talk right away. He started to pressure me for nudes. No. And I told him that was a red flag for me and I needed someone who respected my time and boundaries and that I didn't think it was a good idea to meet up after all. He then told me how horrible I was for rejecting him and he was trying to get back into the dating pool after his wife died in a car accident 6 months prior and she was pregnant with their child. He went into detail about the grieving process, how I was the first one to spark a flame for him, how I rejected him, and now he's back to feeling how he did when his wife and child first passed away. I put his name into Facebook, and it turned out that we had a mutual friend, someone I was pretty friendly with. I messaged her to ask about him, and she told me he was a pathological liar, he was unemployed, lived with his parents, and didn't have a dead wife or unborn child. He had been arrested a few years back for cashing bad checks. Cool. Bullet dodged. At the end of this woman's email, she said, "Dating was wild, but I learned what I will and will not receive. I was able to find a partner who respects me, who has hard conversations, and who is willing to do the work. I'm getting married in July, and I'm so lucky." No red flag needed for that. That is awesome. Congratulations. Sometimes we got to go through it. Okay, we got to go through it. Number 4. I'm a Canadian and was living abroad for a few years. I started dating another expat, British military, that was in the same place for a while. We had great chemistry. Everything was just so lovely. I brought him into my close group of friends, took him to work functions as my +1, and we even took long weekends away together. I was scheduled to leave and he was getting ready to return to the UK shortly after. So we had a big talk about what would happen after I would leave. We decided very mutually that we would try dating long distance and go from there. I left in July. The plan was for him to come to Canada when he was finished with his deployment in September, and then we would go from there. Shortly after I returned to Canada, things started to get weird. First, he said he would not be able to come visit in September. Things with work weren't going to line up, but we would shoot for Christmas or try to figure something else out. Then he told me he needed to rush home to see his father. I said that I had hoped everything was okay. He said, yes, it's just important that I'm there to support him for a bit. Then he asked whether we should keep doing this without a firm date on us seeing each other next. I said, well, I'm okay with it. We can figure this out. Things went back and forth, and I suggested he take the time he is home with his dad to think about what he wants and to focus on his dad's recovery. Once he was done there, we would talk and go from there. I started to get a bad feeling about things and did a deep dive in the internet. Smart people. He told me he didn't have a social media because of work. I know, red flag. Well, after much searching, I found his wife's profile. That's right. He was married, had a child. I literally had no clue until this point. And he didn't go home to see his dad. He went home for his son's first birthday. Amazing, isn't it? Oh my gosh. The social media thing is such a hard thing because the guy I dated didn't have social media either. Red flag. But also, if my business wasn't on social media, I don't know if I would have it either. So it's hard to say. Number 5. When I was 14, a guy who was a friend of a friend started texting me out of the blue. He said his name was Benny. He would text me, remember the T9 days? Every night until 3 a.m. Oh my gosh, I totally had these days. Little susceptible me fell head over heels. Ugh. Young love. He always had an excuse for not meeting up with me. When my little codependent heart finally called him out on it, he made up a whole story about how he was having to be admitted to the hospital. Even sent me a photo of his chest wrapped in bandages in his farce. Okay, doesn't that remind you of the Tinder swindler? Bullet stuff or like blood stuff and all the bandages? Anyhow, he left me a voicemail with him rapping about how much he loved me, saying he didn't want to die without me. Oh God. I didn't hear from him for days and I was incredibly distraught. I thought I loved him and I was beyond worried. Oh, this 14-year-old. Back in the day, we've all been there. He then sent a text under the guise of his sister saying that Benny had died, but had loved me so much and wanted his sister to tell me that he died loving me. I was broken for months. Okay. Well, he messaged me on Facebook a few months ago. Okay. 14 years later, asking if I wanted to invest in a pyramid scheme. Oh my God, this is my favorite story. Turns out he ghosted me by dying without any qualms. I didn't respond. Sometimes when I feel the world isn't fair and that karma isn't real, I think about my childhood ghoster who is now an obese truck driver with a bowl cut who sells candle melts, and I'm a believer again. I'm mostly joking. He was young too and obviously faced his own demons, like we all do. I just hope he didn't break too many hearts finding his way in the world. Good thing that this happened to me before I was old enough to have my own money. I totally would have been the type to funnel money into catfishers. Young love is a very intense thing. All steps in life that make us who we are today. I love that story. And that is so true. We have all been through it. We've all done dumb things. We've all been mean to people or broken people's hearts or lied before we really knew that, hey, we don't want to be liars anymore. We've all been there. These stories are incredible. There are so many from you guys. And so I'm going to keep this going. I have more in the future because I want to hear all your red flag stories. So we'll have a part 2, a part 3, a part 4. Depends how many emails I get. But one thing I just can't wrap my head around is how are people so good at lying? Or is it that we're just very susceptible to those lies because we're not liars ourselves and we wouldn't make up those lies? Or are we just susceptible because we all just want love? We want to be loved. We want to feel love. We want to experience love. And we can't wrap our head around that another person wouldn't want the same thing as us. Obviously, people who spiral into these lies are dealing with some dark stuff that they really have to unearth and they have to face. And not everybody wants to face that. But it's always so upsetting when people take other people down with them because these people haven't faced their dark side. We all got to do it. We all got to bring it to light and let it go. Like I said before, this is going to be a series. We're going to have many parts of this because you guys have so many stories. But if you don't want to send in an email for me to read here, you can always leave a comment below. Were you just flabbergasted by a lie that someone told you? Did you get swindled by someone? Was it from a dating app? Was it somebody back in the day? Did you get catfished? I want to hear your stories because we all got something to share. Don't forget to leave your own stories and comments in the comment section below or at secrets@paleomg.com. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I have many more to come and I can't wait to share all your stories. I'm so happy you sent them in. And love probably wasn't the right word there, but you know what I mean. Misery loves company a little bit. Next up, I have more videos. I think you're going to be interested, so stay tuned for that. I'm Juli Bauer Roth of PaleoMG. Thank you so much for sharing all the dirty details with me.